Good evening. We will call the November 10th Cedar Springs Public School Board meeting to order. It is now 6:15. And you would rise to the meeting for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we can have a roll call, please. And the business trustee Gilmore has a family event.
Trustee Bowser.
Here.
Trustee Patton. Here. Trustee Lund.
Here.
Treasurer Gilmore excused. Secretary Slager here. Vice President Schaffner.
Here.
President Reed.
Here. Thank you. We've established a forum for tonight's meeting. That brings us to the adoption of the agenda, and I would entertain a motion for as presented.
So moved. Support.
Discussion. And none, Vice President Schaffner,
Yes.
Secretary Slager,
Yes.
Trustee Lund,
Yes.
Trustee Patton,
Yes.
Trustee Bowser,
Yes.
President Reed, yes, motion carries. And that brings us to gratitudes, and I would open up the table to share gratitudes.
I'll share one. Just reflecting this past couple of weeks, what we do as board members and how it's essentially volunteer job. And just wanted to say thank you to all of you. And especially thank you to Hayden. Being the president, it takes more time, effort, and just a lot. So just thank you for all of you.
I'm back in that. Yeah. I would have to look at it.
Well, I was thinking that, yeah, thank you. So, this is kind of a different venue, but I like picking my parking spot out there. I'm grateful for all of the students of artwork. So I find myself, I like this one, I've been in parking here. So I like the all other seniors, their parking spots.
I am grateful that I learned a few things about Shakespeare last Thursday night. I went to the high school drama production of the life of the works of William Shakespeare abridged. So they went through all 37 works in a matter of, well, they did it, the total show was about 1 hour and 50 minutes, but they actually did a version at the end, which was under a minute. Went through all of his works in under a minute.
Wow.
To be honest, the math major and earth science major came out strong from my chair because I really missed a lot of the jokes. Man, I was so impressed with the way they could deliver such lengthy dialogue. And then a second later, start making another joke in a different character. So it was just outstanding class. Our students were amazing. So grateful for that talent. I'm grateful that we had a snow in the forecast this morning and we got to have school. So that was fun. I don't know of anyone who canceled today. But I'm sure that it's crossing the minds and hopes and prayers of some of our staff and students. So yeah, as they went to bed last night.
All right, high school representatives, I do not see the audience, so we'll move forward. To our consent items, our own business before the board, I would entertain a motion for as presented.
So support.
Vice President Schaffner,
Yes.
Secretary Slager,
Yes.
Trustee Lund,
Yes.
Trustee Patton, yes, Trustee Bowser,
Yes.
President Reed, yes, motion carries. Brings us to our discussion items, and first up tonight, we have the School News Network update with Riley County and Scott Smith.
Yeah, so Riley is here tonight. He can come on up. Riley is our reporter. School News Network is institution run out of the Kent ISD. Really the intent, the mission of the group is to publicize the great works that are happening in districts throughout Kent County. And there's a team of reporters who are assigned to different districts, and we're fortunate that Riley is a part of our team. He does an outstanding job, really focused on the things that our students and staff are doing that give cause to celebration. So Riley just wanted to give you a little update on kind of where School News Network is, and also where they're headed. I had the opportunity to serve on the Superintendent's Advisory Board, so I had a chance to sit down with a team from School News Network 4 times a year. Just to hear some of these ideas and visions, and also help and share some perspective from the district lens. So it's a great organization. We're grateful to have them be part of our work. So Riley.
Okay, well, hello, I'm Riley Kelly. As Scott mentioned, I cover Cedar Springs for School News Network at Kent ISD. He gave a good rundown there. Normally at these things, I ask for a quick show of hands if anybody's unfamiliar with School News Network. That sort of determines how I move forward. Do we have any? Sounds like everybody is familiar. All right, wonderful. That's what we love to hear. Even so, I do have a couple flyers that I'm going to hand out that just give sort of a rundown. So I'll pass some of these here and some of these here. And along with them, I'll include my business card here. So direct contact to me if you have story ideas that you would like to share with us at School News Network. Feel free to contact me. Like Scott said, I'm Riley. I work for School News Network. This is my 3rd year there covering Cedar Springs, as well as, let's see, Sparta, Rockford, East Grand Rapids Public Schools. And I think that's actually it. And covering a lot of the bigger issue stories that we do as well. One of the things that School News Network prides itself on is a focus and an emphasis on teaching and learning and issues in education. A little bit different from your average traditional media outlets. You don't see us at a lot of board meetings covering the nitty-gritty or responding when something bad happens. We want to take time to reflect. We like to cover the positive when it's there. When the not so positive happens, we like to get the school's perspective on things. So I think that really makes it stand out. We are all professional journalists. A lot of us have many, many years of experience working in that other kind of journalism, that more traditional format. I myself, for about a decade before moving to School News Network, I worked with Shoreline Media, the Ludington Daily News up in Ludington area. So we at SNN are just trying to make an effort to get out into our districts. Since we're not at a lot of these board meetings typing away and reporting on things, and we're more in the classrooms, we want to just make sure that we're familiar faces with the board members. So that's what I'm here to do. It's just to introduce myself to you, because as this is my 3rd year covering Cedar Springs, it's my first time meeting many of you, though I do see a few familiar faces in the audience. Yes, so School News Network has actually expanded in the last couple years. The year I started, 2023, we pivoted from, we were just school year focused with a couple of part-time journalists. Now we are year-round with full-time journalists working, and I think I wanted to share with you some of the results of that. So in terms of story counts that are stories that we've written about Cedar Springs, in the 2021 to 2022 school year, there were 17. In the 2022 to 2023 school year, there were 15. When I started in 2023 to 2024, there were 35. So that's a big increase, and I'm happy about that. About the same in 2024, 2025, and so far in 2025, we've got 10 Cedar Springs stories, and we're pumped to do more. I've got a few more on the schedule that I'll be looking into in the coming weeks. A few things that I wanted to share with you as well. There's some series that we do. In addition to focusing on teaching and learning in general, We also spotlight teachers. Rockstar Teachers is a series that we do where we look at teachers who have accomplished something special. Why I Teach is a series where we just seek to elevate the profession of teaching by talking to long-term educators about what got them into the field, what keeps them in the field, what challenges are they seeing, how are they overcoming those, and what would they say to people who are considering careers in education. And that's one of my favorites because, as we know, it's tricky to get folks in the door in terms of education sometimes. So I feel like we're hopefully doing our part to make the profession look desirable to people who are in high school or in college and reading our stories, hopefully. A few other story series are Grads with Grit, where we highlight a student who has graduated despite some great adversity. Those are always very popular. And then, of course, Meet Your Administrators, where if we have a new administrator, principal, or assistant principal, we profile them. We ask them lots of fun questions. Do they like cats? Do they like dogs? What was their first concert? Those get tons of eyeballs. People love reading about those because, and I think that shows that, people want to be connected to their schools and what's going on there. So in addition to that, SNN has videos, podcasts, and more. We are funded through the districts, through partnerships, and we service all of the public school districts in Kent County through the Kent ISD. And we are just excited to be here. We are trying to get our faces out there a little bit more, as I said before, and make sure that you all know who we are, what we're here, and what we're doing. So that's pretty much all I have for you. I just wanted to give you a brief update. Does anybody have any questions for me about School News Network or what we do?
No questions, but I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for all the stories you on the district.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a very good relationship with Cedar Springs. We love covering the district, and it's just it's a joy, honestly. There's so many exciting things happening in the district, and we look forward to continuing to highlight those. So thank you so much for having me tonight. And if you ever have a story idea, or you hear of a teacher who does, or somebody shares something interesting at one of these board meetings, feel free to send me an email or give me a call. I work closely with Amy McCarthy and with Scott to formulate story ideas and do planning and coordination of coverage. So thank you all so much for your time tonight.
Okay, moving on to the district spotlights. First up, we have CW Elementary. Christiane Becker.
Todd's next. Correct. I'm just happy I'm going before Todd and before Mr. Simmons, because I know he'll give an inspiring speech. You know he does. I just want to update you, Cedar View, on kind of the three aspects of MTSS and where we've been and where we're going. And I'll start with behavior. The foundation for math and reading to be successful, we got to have behaviors under control. And we started the year numbers wise very tough. Our suspensions were up in September and the early part of October, which we have not seen in my 4 years there. But what we have seen is we came together, Dan Brandt being on board. We got plans in place because there was 2 or 3 kids that were really ramping those numbers up. We've got plans in place for them now. And since we did that 4 weeks ago, we have not had one suspension in school or out of school. So the things we're doing are working for those high flyers. And then beyond that, the numbers are really good behavior wise. Like just overall behavior referrals are down. And it's the lowest October we've had in my 4 years there. So teachers, behavior staff, everybody's doing a great job being there and being proactive with behaviors. For reading, we are really focusing on vocabulary to strengthen comprehension. So the idea being, if you don't know the words you're reading, you're not going to be able to understand what you're reading. And so that's kind of aligning our PLC work with MTSS and then district goals. Reading wise, that's really what we focused on. One of our teachers, 4th grade teachers, Gabby Kasnowitz, actually led 3rd through 5th grade in professional development a week and a half ago, bringing vocab activities that aligned with CKLA but then brought in some of the things that at the lower levels that Ebley's doing that can help strengthen vocab with the words that go along with like 4th and 5th grade curriculum. So we got really good feedback with that, and we're going to keep pushing that to build up the vocabulary, and we know that'll pump up the comprehension as well. With math, we're doing something different this year than we've ever done. So in the past, you've heard us of our win time, what I need time, and that was really focused more on reading. Well, this year at Cedar View, we put in a 20-minute math win time. That's been great because we've had more focused tier 2 support for students. But on the teacher end, they're kind of trying to figure it out. So each classroom was like a laboratory of innovation. And now we're to the point where we're like, all right, this is working, this is not working. Needs to go by, and this may be more of the path we're going. So this Friday, that's the first activity we're doing for our PD, is we're going to kind of share out as a group and see, hey, this teacher's doing something great. Let me talk to that person and not try to reinvent the wheel, so then we can kind of get that 20-minute math segment working well. So with reading, we're kind of just hammering the alignment. With math, we're trying something different and get some more focused instruction. And then behavior, it's working as a team to keep the numbers where they're at after an initial spike. So, any questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious with the interventions on the behaviors, what has been the most successful piece? I mean, as you mentioned, kind of addressing it as a team, and are there 1 or 2 things that you would highlight as?
I think it is the ability of not only Cedar View, but to partner with Allison Daypray and Dan Brandt to work as a team. So it's not one person trying to do it. It's, hey, like, these are the boots on the ground soldiers, and we don't have a general telling them what to do. It's the general came, saw what's going on, and then worked collaboratively. So that was, for those really high flyers, that was what was the most bang for our buck. And then for some of those other ones, it's just, I mean, behavior's gray. It's not black and white. So it's kind of figuring out what's working and trying new things and adjusting if it doesn't work for 3 weeks or 6 weeks and changing things up. All right.
Thank you.
Great job.
Next, Mr. Simmons for the high school.
Thanks, Coach. All right, my name's Todd Simmons. I'm blessed to serve in leadership here at Cedar Springs High School. I thought Mr. Riley was an excellent segue along with Coach, because my purpose in being here tonight is to explain to you what our intent is in this building and how we intend to reach our intent, but also to celebrate our champion kids and our champion practitioners. I'll start by just sharing something that our educators, my teammates, our professionals see and hear to nauseam. It is the aforementioned intent. All right, I won't insult your intelligence. You can read what our intent is, and our intent is to become that for all 1,000 of our students in this building. We quantify or qualify that intent or that culture that we seek with a few tangible data points. And it is our goal to increase our graduation rate, because if you look at my school data, it hurts our hearts to see what our grad rate has been. Our pass rate, which I'll mention later in this short presentation, our every student known efficiency rate, and then getting all 200 to 250 of our graduates ready to launch. Just to put that into different terms, or said a little bit differently, when our kids walk off that stage on that Thursday in late May, on that Friday morning, they have to wake up, whatever time that is, and say, I'm ready to take off. I'm ready to take off, wherever that may be, to the job, which about at last year's data point was about 48% of our kids go right to work. Others in that 52% go to college, trade school, tech school, military, etc. But they all have to launch like a rocket. So our intent is listed. That is our intent for all 1,000. Our way of getting there, or how, is those vision targets. And listed below these three pillars, these are our pillars of professional development. This is how we are developing our professionals in order to reach that intent. Big believer that picture says 1,000 words, so I'm just going to show you some photos. Okay. This is just from this past Saturday. This falls under that vision target of personal best. We really believe that every single one of our professionals, every single one of our students has the ability to reach their God-given personal best. We believe that. We also believe it's the highest bar you could ever set for a human. You cannot reach any higher than your God-given personal best, and that is our standard, and it remains our standard. This is an exemplar of personal best because this past Saturday, under the guidance, and we're so thankful for Mrs. Skidema going above and beyond to provide this opportunity, as a bunch of our kids went out in the woods and clipped a bunch of invasive species. I think it's called the olive, I don't remember this, some sort of olive tree. They went out there Saturday morning for about 3 hours working with these foresters from the DNR and Forest Service to do it. Why this is personal best is you've got kids from every single demographic, every single group you could think of in our community. You've even got a student up there who just started school here last week. And two of the boys, my boy Luke and my boy Ethan, took him alongside and said, hey, come on, let's go do this together. That's a great example of not only personal best, where everybody can be successful in this culture, but it's also the culture we seek with that level of inclusivity. Next way we are going to get to our intent and create that champions culture here is through empowering. We want to empower our students. We want to empower our professionals to take ownership of this. We don't want them to rent it. We all can think back to our first apartment, whether it be in college or at another point. That apartment looks a lot different than our current home, I'm sure. The drywall holes can speak to it. We want to treat this place like we own it, not we rent it. These are just some exemplars of that. In the top left corner, under the guidance of Coach H, taking the kids over to the pickleball court over by the old central office and getting that repainted. Bottom right, my boy B. Hayes didn't have KCTC. He still came in his normal time, went right up to Mr. Rivard and right up to Miss Sam and said, hey, what can I do for the next 2 hours? Voluntarily, he swept floors and just helped in any way, shape, or form he could within this building. Down in the bottom left, that's an example of what happens here every first Wednesday of every month at our building leadership team, our BLT meetings, where we empower our educators, our building leaders to lead the school. They start every meeting by having a member of our student voice forum, which is kind of the student side of BLT, to come in and present on what they want to see from the adults in their building. There, Emerson Sanborn's presenting as a member of Student Voice Forum to our building leadership team. Just again, an exemplar of empowering our people to take ownership of their school. Next, just an example of what we believe that a daily, every day, 365, a daily champion process will eventually lead to a champion result. Up in the top left corner, St. Houghton, Miss Shannon Houghton, working alongside two of our students up there during SOAR time. Bottom right hand corner are members of our local Boy Scout troop on September 11th, representing, taking ownership of that morning to make sure all that entered door one remember that moment in our country's history. Bottom left-hand corner, Miss Carol Nieder, who's in her 37th year of education, spending extra time with one of our students, Charlie, who needed extra help after school. We just believe that a daily champion process will eventually lead to champion results. And I'll show you some of those results we're starting to see because of said process. We talked about SOAR time there. We're seeking to soar. You're aware that this year we started that here every Tuesday and Thursday and every other Wednesday. Mrs. Hess has been a blessing to us in that process as our academic interventionist. I'll share some of the data that's occurred over these first 2 months of school. Down at the bottom right-hand corner, one of the things that SOAR time has allowed us to do is get class levels together to prepare them for next steps. This is Mrs. Cooey in the bottom right-hand corner presenting to our entire senior class on career readiness. The other cool, positive, unintended consequence has been what SOAR time has opened up for our kids who don't need intervention, who don't even want extension. Extension meaning like those kids who want a little bit more time with their AP class. What it's opened up is enrichment opportunities. This bottom left-hand corner is our MySci classroom, our mildly cognitively impaired classroom, where Mrs. Hall hosts a board game session during her SOAR time session so that some of our kids from other classrooms can come in and work alongside some of our MySci kids, which might not otherwise happen during the 6 hours of the day. Truly a champion, unintended positive consequence of SOAR time. And I'll get into the data that SOAR time has led to academically as well. One of the other pillars of PD one of the pillars of PD you saw was our Every Student Known initiative. In the simplest forms, it's our goal for every one of our 1,000 kids to have at least one trusted adult in this building. That's not a nicety, that's not candy and nuts. We just believe that will not only protect a lot of kids' mental and emotional health, but but as importantly, could lead to incredible academic potential being met. Because we all know if we have a champion in our lives that's there for us no matter what, we can have a better chance of reaching our true personal best, okay? So we want all 1,000 kids to have at least one trusted adult. It doesn't have to be a classroom educator. It could be Grandma Renee in the kitchen. It could be Mr. Rivard as a care team member. It could be Mrs. Peony in the office. We just need all 1,000 to have that trusted adult. On October 30th at our Team PD, a bunch of minions got together. No pun intended, minions literally got together and we charted our first segment of Every Student Known. So you can see the chart paper here. It's got all 1,000 of our kids, including new beginnings. There's 4 columns. The first column is, do you know the child by name and face? Check it. Do you know the child? Next column is, do you know the child academically? Like you know they're good at math? Check it. Third column, do you know something about them outside of school? I know they like to fish. I know they shot at 8-point. Check it. The fourth column is the column we want all 1,000 kids to get to as soon as possible. That column is, I know that child will come to me in a time of adversity or crisis. I'll share a data point at the end of this presentation that we're pretty proud of from last year and where we want to head to this year with even greater efficiency. What feeds this ESK process is Dave Stewart's work on moments of genuine connection. All of our educators, including me, we chart our MGCs, our moments of genuine connection, where we are intentional about making sure every child on our roster is valued, seen, and heard. Here you see it, Miss Mama Ahmed out here with Colin Gordon, making sure that he feels valued, seen, and heard, going over something either academic, life, extracurricular, whatever it may be, and then charting it on your MGC clipboard. That's something every one of our practitioners does, including me. Okay, there's Miss Schultz doing the same. That feeds our ESK initiative. Another pillar of PD, trying to speed this up, is Mr. Stewart's work that he's doing with us on what's called value. It's from one of his recent books. It's about ensuring that students don't see this as a point-chasing venture every day, if you know what I mean, all about the points, but rather all about the inherent value of learning. He's teaching us how to teach value. We're also doing a lot of street fairs of pedagogy. Fancy way of saying, imagine you're at a street fair and somebody's trying to sell you hummus, right? You know what I mean? You sample the hummus, You see if you like it, you see if you buy it. At our professional development, we have different practitioners, in this case, Mr. Nabosny, one of our band directors, teaching on a particular pedagogical topic. Our educators can rotate throughout the street fair to different vendor stands to get what they need, to get some individualized professional development so that they can grow in their craft. Trying to speed this up, almost done. Here's just getting into some of the things, some of the champion results we've seen from our process. First of all, I know you've heard about this. Last year, the state average in AP tests was 65%. Our Cedar Springs students, comprised of freshmen all the way up to seniors, scored 90%, 25% above the state average. I've heard people outside of Cedar Springs say, yeah, but, how many kids took the test? We had 353 AP exams proctored last year. 90% of our kids scored 3 or higher. The state average was 65%. That's that champion process leading to champion results. I gotta get off the stage here. A couple of other things we're proud of that process has led to results. Our behavioral referrals last year, we don't have the data for this year yet. Behavioral referrals last year were down 60%. Last year, every student known percentage. By the end of the year, I believe by April, every one of our 1,000 kids last year named at least one of our adults in this building as a trusted adult. That was so affirming to our educators to know that they were named by at least one child. Because for us, pretty humble bunch, we don't always think kids think of us that way. That was really affirming to a lot of our educators. Almost done. MME scores last year, that's the M-STEP, the PSAT. Among the River Cities Alliance, Cedar Springs High School had the highest science proficiency in the conference, second in social studies, and second overall in average proficiency in ELA and math. Last year, there was $350,000 worth of scholarships awarded to that graduating class. Currently, we have 25 clubs outside of athletics open for our kids to enter into extracurriculars. Feeding back into our SOAR time and how that's impacted our failure rate. Last year, second semester, end of the year, 17.5% failure rate. That hurts. Currently, at the end of October, we're down to a 13% failure rate. Those are just a few of the data points that kind of show, along with pictures, that we feel like our process is starting to have a result and we are starting to reach towards our intent. So thank you for your time. What questions do you have?
No question, but thank you for your work. I mean, this was having 3 kids in high school, I can attest, good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. I tell this to people all the time for where I come from. I tell it to anybody who'll listen. I would put our educators up against any around. Any. I'm blessed to be in our classrooms all day, every day. I see, I hear, I feel, I smell, I taste what happens here on a daily basis. We are very blessed with our professionals, and we're all equally blessed by the kids that we get to work alongside. Very blessed. All right, thanks a lot.
All right, moving on to discussion items C, financial updates with finance.
All right, a couple things to highlight on the finance reports. The state in early October released the fiscal year 25-26 threshold for competitive bids. The new threshold is $31,321. So this is the threshold that is tied to district's purchasing policy. So the way the policy is written, that anything that references this threshold and anything above this dollar amount requires board approval. And then by the state, it's required that it goes out for a competitive bid. So that's the new threshold. Going from October 1st through September 30th of 2026. One thing to note on the state aid membership, I did transpose a number, our certified accountant. I put it as 2793, that should be 2973.06. That is within about 0.11 of what I presented October 27th. So these numbers are still subject to change. They go through the pupil accounting audit process that the ISD does. And then those numbers are submitted ultimately to the state. So these numbers will vary a little bit, plus or minus 1 or 2. By the time we have our August 2023 state aid payment. One thing to note on section 31AA, which we have a discussion item later, the deadline was formally extended to November 30th. So we'll have the districts have a little bit longer to make the opt-in or opt-out decision. Something of note, Public Act the House Bill 6058 related to the amendment to Public Act 152 that they had presented in December of last year was the last time it presented. It relates to the increasing the hard cap amount, and instead of being a kind of a limit, it is now would be set as the floor. That language in House Bill 6058 has some problematic language. It has a benchmark that is noted. Issue is that benchmark doesn't exist. So the House recognized that, and they have elected to essentially not pass it on to the governor for consideration. The Senate then filed a lawsuit compelling the House to pass the bill on to the governor. Recently, the Board of Appeals ruled that the House does have to, in fact, they either have to pass it on to the governor or they have until it was mid-December to appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court. So then last week, the House Speaker announced that they intend to, in fact, appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court. So kind of back in December or earlier this year, it seemed like House Bill 6058 was going to kind of die in purgatory forever. And then recently they came back up. So it's something for us to keep an eye on, because a 10% increase to our health insurance costs would be a pretty significant add to our budgets. And then last week or 2 weeks ago, Trent asked when I was presented on the bond refinancing opportunity, he asked what the debt timeline would be. So I did receive that earlier today from Baker Tilly. So if the board would like us to look into this further, this opportunity, we would start providing data to Baker Tilly in December. At the January 12th board meeting, the board would do a resolution, a bond authorizing resolution would be adopted by the board at that time. We would start preparing some draft preliminary official statements. There would be a due diligence call at the end of January, and then on January 29th is essentially when we would have to make that decision of whether to refinance or nothing. Up till that point, the district has not incurred any costs. But once that decision is made, then we would request a bond rating. That's when S&P would do their ratings, and that was the $20,000 to $25,000 financial commitment that the district would then be on the hook for. And then if you saw the process all the way through, that those funds or that $25,000 fee would come out of the bond proceeds, be part of the closing costs. So that's the update on the bond refinancing timeline.
Couple of questions. The threshold, we need to update that in our policy, or is that? And We don't have the answer right now, but
The policy is written that it doesn't give a specific number and references that it will change with the competitive bid threshold of the state of Michigan.
I was thinking we were smart, that something like that, but I just wanted to make sure. And then the other one, just to reiterate, the bond refinancing, that was to refinance this, but it's projected that we would have a lot of cost savings to go around, and that's why we would be having that happen.
Correct, I believe it was about $120,000 savings in interest is what they projected. The district could capture if they went through the refinance. The rates are to a point where it's starting to make sense to refinance. As the rates go up, there would be less of a savings. If they go down, we would save more.
Thank you, Marty. Moving on to the filter first bid results. Marty, you're still back.
All right, I'll pull these up for her. All right, so as a reminder, this is this project is related to a set of laws that were passed back in 2023 by the governor related to providing clean drinking water for all schools and daycare centers. Collectively, the laws are referred to as Filter First. So the Filter First laws require that all schools develop a drinking water management plan, as well as install lead reducing filters on all consumable fixtures, so essentially drinking fountains. So while back, Vic and the team submitted a Filter First grant proposal, and we were awarded up to $186,980 to support this project. Because it is considered a construction project, we're changing these fixtures that are absolutely affixed to the building. We did go through the bid process. We had 6 vendors submit RFPs. Part of the bid process is we required each interested party to come do a walkthrough so they had a thorough understanding of what they were bidding, the locations of all of our drinking fountains. So after going through the bid process, the lowest qualified bidder was Northwest Kent Mechanical. Their total bid came in at $83,656. So my recommendation to the board would be to accept Northwest Kent Mechanical's bid in that amount of $83,656. We've done a lot of work with Northwest Kent throughout the bond project. So they're a local contractor who does a lot of work with districts throughout West Michigan and throughout the state. So very highly reputable, and as you can see, they are the low bid. Any questions?
This is on track. If you're comfortable.
And this is a reimbursement based grant, so we are awarded. We can spend up to the $186,000. That's what is made available, but we would only submit to the state for that dollar amount that we actually spend.
We don't get the remaining.
We do not receive the remaining balance.
And all of these were apples to apples, all going off the RFP that was submitted,
Correct.
so.
Yep, and if a vendor had a question, we then posted that question to all of the contractors that were interested so that they all have the same information.
Any questions? is marked. Moving on to question item E, the annual summer tax resolution.
All right, this is as I just stated, this is an annual resolution that we asked the board to consider. So this is the 100% summer tax resolution meeting. We asked the cities and townships within the district to collect 100% of their tax revenues with the summer tax levy. Some districts do a 50-50, so you know residents would pay 50% of their property tax related to schools in the summer, and the other 50% in the winter. So my neighbor is actually the new township treasurer for Algoma, and he asked me, why do schools do this? He said, I'm getting these questions because obviously people, it's a cash flow issue for some people. And my answer is it really comes down to the cash flow needs of the district. Obviously, we received our last state aid payment for the prior school year in August. And we do not receive any state aid money for September, the month of September. Our first state aid comes in October. So you have a 1 month period that you're not receiving any money from the state for your operations. So the 100% summer tax levy on the operating side allows us to kind of, you don't get into a cash crunch in September. And some districts have to go out and borrow money either from the state or from a local lender. Obviously, they're not lending that money to those districts at no cost. They are incurring a interest expense when they borrow that money. So that 100% tax levy allows us to not really have to worry about that potentially borrowing. On the debt service side, it allows us to not have to borrow for the November debt service payments. Again, if we didn't do the 100%, we would have to borrow from the state through the school bond loan fund program. Again, it's not free. They charge districts interest. So by doing that 100% summer tax levy, it's really allows for the cash flow when we're not receiving state aid, and allows us to not borrow to meet our debt service obligations, all of which saves the district money.
Questions?
So this will be on the on action for the next meeting. We do have to provide it to the treasurers by December 31st.
All right, discussion item F, 31AA, opt-in and opt-out update.
So this is one where, while there's been some movement in terms of direction, there's still more questions out there than answers in terms of what the potential implications of this, the language as it's currently written, in order to receive these funds. There's $321 million available for districts to apply for access to. But in order to be eligible to receive that funding, districts would need to do two things. One, waive their attorney-client privileges, and then also comply with state investigations if a mass casualty event occurs on campus. And the questions really are, how could agreeing to the acceptance of these dollars impact us as a district long term? So there's a high potential risk. We really haven't had time to process through the implications of foregoing attorney-client privilege, nor has it even been verified that district can even give up a staff member's attorney-client privilege. So there's just so many questions swirling about the room in regard to this topic. There was a really nice, clarifying article written this morning in Bridge Magazine. I'll send that out to you just so we've got some awareness. But that came through, I read it this afternoon. Just helping to kind of break things down a little bit, but you know, in the past, we've not had to forego such significant things that we've had in the past, you know, and I don't know if they're viewed as protections as much, you know, you don't have, you know, we would be open to investigations in the past from the state, but this is the way it's written, you know, what is a mass casualty event? Is it, you know, does it involve a sidearm or weapon? Does it involve a fight between 7 people, 6 of whom are injured? You know, there's just so many questions out there. You know, it just, I think the general sentiment of districts is if we had more answers to our questions, we would be more confident moving forward with pursuing these dollars. There are districts on the east side of the state that are indicating that they are in favor of receiving the dollars, but they don't agree with the terms and conditions that the state has put upon these dollars, the receiving of the dollars. And they've also informed the state that they'll be filing a lawsuit. As a collection of districts, I've not heard of that happening on the west side of the state yet. But it's definitely taking some traction on the east side of the state. You know, there have just been a lot of conversations, a lot of questions. As Monty shared, we do now have until the 30th of November to make a decision. The tricky thing is the legislators not scheduled to be in session very many times between now and the 30th of November. So even for us to think that there's a strong likelihood that we'll have more answers, I think is very thin ice. I don't know that that's reality. So, you know, I think what we're hearing from many of our neighboring districts is that, you know, boards are taking action to not accept the 31AA funds as the regulations are currently drafted. They're doing that now if they're comfortable, or they're doing that, you know, they'll do it in a special meeting or a later scheduled meeting. You know, the boards can always change their minds if additional information and if additional clarity comes out of that. This is one of those things, you know, like Bonnie referenced earlier, you know, there's not all legislation is good legislation. There's a piece of legislation that's sitting out there right now that calls for an indicator to be used that doesn't even exist. And so that language is just, that legislation is sitting there, should be transferred to the governor's desk, but even if it was transferred to the governor's desk for signature, the indicator doesn't exist. And so it's really a useless piece of legislation. So all that being said, you know, there's nothing on for action this evening, which means we either call a special meeting between now and the 30th. I did invite you to board a special meeting of the Board of Education for a closed session disciplinary hearing on the 17th, which is 1 week from tonight. You know, you could take action on the 17th after you've had a chance to review the Bridge article. I wish I had more clarity for you, but you just don't at this time.
What, kind of funds would we be looking at, do we know roughly?
So that's kind of the joke, around circles, you know, when we're having conversations, so there's $321 million available. Someone said, well, if just one district applies and receives it, they would get $321 million, that's not likely the case, because that likely was prorate it back. And distribute, you know, basically dollars similar to what we've received in the past, associated with per pupil funding. And this isn't new money, this is part of that shell game that's played, that was particularly played with this specific budget. They pulled money out of some areas and then created these one-time dollar opportunities that are really difficult for districts like ours to budget on a long-term basis. You know, it's difficult to add staff to support safety and security measures, to support student well-being measures, if we don't know that those dollars are going to be available next year. Because we can hire people this year, but if the dollars aren't available next year, we're gonna have to say no to some things in order to maintain those positions. And so it really, I believe it's well intended, but creates very messy situations. You know,
Are there any stipulations of how we get things tonight, or is it? Yes. Okay.
But those would be similar to how we've used those dollars in the past.
Which that's normal for a grant. Obviously, there's restrictions placed on how the money is used. What is not normal is you have to waive the constitution.
Yeah, and it is directly, the article, I'll share it again, the art, it's really directly related to the act. Because they're, you know, they've got families who are waiting, you know, it's been 4 years and there still isn't an active, widespread, investigation to present, you know, that's giving them the answers to the question that they have. And then you never get those answers. That's the other.
So if they don't come back with any change, that to actually make this take knowledge. It's advised that you do take knowledge.
I think, yeah, you would need to take action either by voting, yes, we do want to pursue these funds, or no, we do not want to pursue these funds.
Yep.
And we do have some time with the special meeting that's next month.
And break schools.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Moving on to bond construction update.
So, last Thursday at approximately 1:30, we received 3 green tickets, 3 green stickers. Green stickers are good stickers. Green stickers mean that you have occupancy for various buildings or whatever building you that the inspector is there to approve. One of the green stickers was for our full storage building, so glass. That space has, we have occupancy for it, and we've already moved some items into it for some storage for winter. We also received green stickers for Beach Elementary School, so we have full occupancy for that space as well. So we're really excited that we were able to close the door on those projects. We did have an opportunity that there's if we can go through the weight room to see the repairs that are being done on those floors. And there was progress being made. But again, you've got to wait for the adhesive to cure for us to really have clarity about how to what degree those repairs are actually going to really bring out the results that we And then we also are really trying to sharpen the pencil and clarify the scope of projects that we'll be looking at for next summer. And we'll have a page turn on Thursday morning of this week, which will really be an opportunity for us to go page by page through each of the proposed projects to make sure that what we've got designed, what we've got targeted, are really checking the box in terms of our last collection of needs. Once those page turn documents are ready, then we'll be able to provide you with some additional updates in December in terms of getting some ideas around what directions we want to take moving forward, and then we'll be going on to bid. And with many of the projects being organized, or some of the projects being altered based on feedback that you get from you, and then see how the bids come in, see our final chapter of construction before we went to 2025 in summer of 26.
That's our 2025 audit presentation, and we have Mike Bradeveld with us, CPA partner. Well,
Hi, thank you. That was great timing. I just got in. So I'm Mike Radeveld, worked on the audit for Cedar Springs this year and managed field work. Overall, I just want to report the process went very well, very smooth, and things were done very efficiently. Staff was very responsive in getting us all the information that we needed to get the whole thing kind of pulled together. So we did send a letter out to the board. It's called the governance letter, and that was frankly a pretty boring letter. There was no comments. That's where we would report any material misstatements that we found and corrected, which we did not have any. We had no issues with management, no difficulties, anything like that. So really nothing to report there. On the financial statement side, I'll kind of just do a very brief high-level overview of things, and if there are any questions or you want me to go into further detail on anything, just stop me anytime and let me know. We did implement GASB 101 this year. That's just some accounting lingo. It affected the paid time off and how that's accounted for. So that transition went fairly smooth. It was a lot of work for Marty to take care of that, but we got it done, and it really, at the end of the day, did not have a material impact on the statements at all. Page 1 of the audit has our audit opinion on there, and this is a good, clean audit report. It's exactly what you're looking for when you get an audit done. So nothing to point out there. Next section is the MD&A. That's kind of a narrative format of the statements, kind of goes over some highs and some lows for the year. I won't get into detail on that one, but I did want to point out page 11. This is what's called the government-wide statement of net position, and this is kind of the whole entire school lumped into one column. It's very summarized, and it's going to also show you some other things you wouldn't normally see on a monthly basis, such as land, some pension numbers in there, and debt numbers, things like that. One item I wanted to point out on here, it's about halfway down the page in the non-current liabilities, is arbitrage payable. That hasn't been booked historically, but this year it kind of hit that point where your interest earnings on that bond money, because it's a tax exempt bond, you will be getting a bill of some sort from, I believe it comes from the IRS, and that'll have to be paid. So that happens every 5 years. I think that's how the cycle operates. So just something to be aware of, that bill will be coming. The general fund, you'll see on page 14, and you'll see unassigned fund balance at the end of the year, June 30, 2025, that is about $14.5 million there. And then 2 pages down from that on page 16, this is going to be where like the income statement is for that. You'll see it increase by about $350,000 this year. Pretty modest increase for the year, which is good. The 2023 building and site bond project, you'll see about $15.2 million of capital outlay was spent this year. Continuing to spend those bond funds down. We expect that to continue this coming year. which it sounds like you just got an update on that, so I won't get into detail there. The other thing that I wanted to point out, is typically this audit report is issued with what's called a single audit, which is specific to the federal funding. We have to look at that very detailed. The federal government never got around to getting the compliance supplement completed this year, which is what tells us exactly what parts of each federal program we need to audit. So we went based off of the draft, and the school guidance said, well, issue it without it, and then we'll wait and see what happens. So we're waiting to see what happens on the single audit piece, but the rest of the audit is issued and good to go. Other than that, is there any questions that I can answer? Sorry, that was a lot of information really fast.
There's a lot of information, and thank you for doing all of this, and yeah. Happy to hear it's kind of a boring report, so. Yeah, that speaks to my and your team. Thank you. After you were wrong. Yeah.
Thank you for notifying me.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much for having us up. Yeah, yep, thank you. We'll see you next year.
Okay, brings us to discussion. Item I, Nolan Board of Education Policy Revisions for consideration with Scott.
All right, so, there are three items listed. So HI1 is the term policy that is before you, that is scheduled for action this evening. The second item, item 8I2, is the emergency removal, suspension, and expulsion of non-city students. Proposal, that I did attach two items to that. I attached the revision, the original revision, is the second attachment. The revision of the revision is the first attachment. So the first attachment is the attachment that would on a long-term suspension of less than or equal to 45 days, it would require the superintendent and board president and police and two other trustees of the board, the executive committee would have to be in agreement that that longer term suspension was appropriate. The first revision was just the initial language, the original language that we shared, that I shared with you in that version 2, simply states, from 0 to 5 days, the principal can suspend. From 5 to 10 days, the principal and the superintendent would need to be involved in that conversation and make sure that both of those individuals were on the same page. Then length of term for those long-term suspensions between 11 and 45 days. It goes back to that original proposal, and that was the superintendent in consultation with the board president. The reason why those two options are before you, we're a committee of this board operates as a committee of the whole, with the board president speaking for the board on matters. And so, if we go with version 1, then basically we're creating a committee of sorts of individuals who would consider these longer term suspension items. And so, my recommendation would be version 2, but obviously it's going to be a decision moving forward in terms of the yard place for action. And that's not setting it for action for this evening, just again getting you some opportunities she might have. And then the third bundle of information is the fall 2025 Neola revisions. That's a larger body of proposals. Neola presents a proposal package in the spring, and then another in the fall. This particular group of proposed revisions is lengthy, because it includes two bundles. So the first bundle is the general overview, just those general collection of policies that would be recommended for revision based on changes in MDE language or in state law or in different reasons that would drive some changes, minor changes to language. And then it also includes this collection of policies centered on non-discrimination. And so that would be the second group of policies that you will be considering for revision. In board book, two documents that are helpful to me as I process the collection of revisions. It's the first attachment, the general overview attachment, and then the second attachment, which is the non-discrimination overview. That just gives you a quick update as to why the recommended changes are in place. None of these changes that are before you in either of the general overview section or the non-discrimination section are significantly substantive. They're really more about changes to legislation, changes to issue Department of Ed policy, or changes to other policies at the state level. The other collection of artifacts that are included in just that Neola policy revision subsection is some legislative updates that just help to support some of the recommended changes that are coming out of the office. So typically we don't go through piece by piece. This is your first look. This is a really big body of work. This is why we take several months to chew and process on these revisions. And that's why we try to do it in a bundle, so that we can help keep the process moving along. So I don't know if you want to break it down, maybe to if there's specific discussions on the term proposal, if there's specific questions or wonderings around the emergency removal, suspension, and expulsion proposal, or if you want to jump in any questions that you may have around the new language that's being proposed that you have in the town. So if some of those policies are 17 pages long. And you will notice too that the way the policy booklet is put together, you may see the same basic policy, but in one location it's there for certified staff, and then it might be the same policy that it's listed for non-certified staff, then it might be listed for administrators. So it's not all the policy revisions are brand new. Sometimes they're just different locations. But if you change it in one location, you gotta change it in one. I'll do my best to field any questions.
On 2266, it's got all those choices in the end boxes and stuff. If how Neola works, it's not like an easy flip the switch, you gotta find it direct, right?
Correct. So 2266 is the non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities. The green is new language. The red is language that they recommend striking, so it's being replaced by the green. There are also several sections where you have optional language. The optional language would only apply if there's an X in the box. So if there's not an X in the box now, that just means that our current language does not include that section under proposed revision. We can add it, but then we'd be modifying what we currently have as far as language goes. So, and I know it can be tricky, because you see the green, is that new, does that mean we automatically accept it? No, only if there's a box that's been checked. The habitat option section.
So on the term one, so that's on for action tonight, do we talk to, legal, were they able to provide any information on that, or?
We did, so Marshall is not aware of any other district who has a specific set of term limits that have been self-imposed. You know, obviously, you talked about the 4-year term or the 6-year term. He was going to consult, so they have a regularly scheduled meeting within their partnership group. And so there are a group of attorneys who specifically focus on school law. He was gonna bring this question to that group, and then report back to me. I don't know what day of the week, I checked the email late last week. And I don't know what day his partner group got together. We're gonna follow up if we've heard of any. He's not aware of any, language that would prevent a district from doing it, nor is he aware of any district that is currently that service.
I talked to the Kent County election and he said that it can be enforced if the board has a policy. So they have a way to track all the board members and they know how long they've been in there and we can like bring it in there, so they know, so we bring it up to file that person will be able to file. I was told on the election record.
I'll just say too, you know, this isn't just one because I mean, I feel like it's pretty straightforward, but, I fell down some interesting rabbit holes in conversation with people too, and there are schools that have term limits, maybe not the public schools, or there are actually quite a few school districts that do have term limits, and I kind of, was surprised at how common that was. Which I was curious about because I was concerned that we had, is the issue of there's not, none of people run, particularly with private schools. I know it's different because they're not elected, but I mean, they have, they're obviously a small group of people. But no, I do think there is a lot of interest, more interest than I thought in this, and just talking, so I wanted to share that too. I was surprised really, just with some parents and community members, more in favor of it than what I had anticipated, so I just think about share.
Jason, what was your reasoning again for the time?
Just because you look at society now, that state long-term and Senate, Congress, the reason I came up with 3 is because when the student comes in, usually people get involved in their kids in school, usually that's 12 years. That's why I get 3.
What did you do with it? There's no difference.
There's a lot of factors. You can come up with, 10 years, 5 years, and you gotta pick a number and go with it, and that's what all my, that's why I do 3.
You mentioned something last, meeting about corruption or something that served for 20 minutes, so this.
I'm not saying everybody is corrupt, but I'm saying when you have certain things around it for so long, there becomes a certain type of, favorite company list, per se. That is where I'm talking.
Okay.
Not
So
saying,
that's a far cry from corruption. Okay,
I don't know what you're fishing for. Where do you been?
I'm just trying to understand where you're coming
100%
from.
accurate in everything that you've done. Is that what you're trying to get me to say to you?
No.
Then what are you trying to do?
I'm trying to understand why you're proposing the 3-year.
Because we have to start somewhere. I mean, when we have board presidents that's been here for so many years, I mean. When they're going on private tours during football games, is that not sound instruction either? No. Why would any other board members of the body?
So for the record, had any board member asked me to walk through the building, I would have.
Why would have came up to you that night, would you have gave you a tour?
I absolutely would have.
You would have, you was busy looking at students, making sure they were not sitting with parents, correct?
I was. I would have gladly taken you to the building. Did you ask and I denied that opportunity?
Okay.
Did you ask?
I'm not going to ask you, but so if Heidi came out first, I asked you to go on the tour?
I don't remember the details.
It is, all right, she said, I'm not getting into it, that's why she wants the term limits, that way everything's clear, cut and dry. We're not getting the whole corruption, favoritism kind of thing, everything's fair, the community gets their voice said. It's simple, it's not like I'm asking, you know.
But the community there gets their voice, every time they vote.
I just want to add a couple things. I don't believe that there is corruption. I wanted to say that. First of all, I don't, but,
And I would say on that, if you think there is corruption, you need to submit that because we do take it very seriously. Submit it in writing, so we can.
I would love to.
Please do.
Been here, what, 20 years?
So,
Keep going.
so again, I was just surprised, some of the feedback I was getting and just a really good healthy conversation, just of advantages and disadvantages and actually even some students were involved in the conversation. And there were differences of opinions, and so I think there are some advantages and disadvantages. I think some of the advantages, certainly it can encourage more engagement in the community. Whether they're a parent or not, and there could be, those fresh ideas. 12 years is a substantial amount of time. I think there is, a disadvantage of the term limits is you could lose some institutional knowledge and that's valid. I think though, again, 12 years is a pretty decent time. You can still be very involved with strategic planning and your curriculum and, I think if you have mentoring of board members and good transitions,
Acceptance of you board members too, would be good.
And what's that?
The acceptance of you board members for everything that was. Board members have been on for a long time, good at hearing that.
Anyway, I think there are more advantages than what I had initially thought, and I appreciated the discussion.
It's on breast tonight, so we'll be able to go through that part in full. For me, I appreciate, all the different multiple board members, I think they're all different kinds of families. Short-termers, long-termers, and, the main piece of the board is being able to work together. And so, and then people coming home on board. We'll see where we go. Correct? All right, anything else? See more of the other policies later. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion portion of the meeting. And that brings us to our closed session, and pursuant to the Open Meeting Act, Section 8K, Safety and Security Planning, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session. So moved. Support. Any discussion? Having none, Vice President Shelton.
Yes.
Secretary Slager.
Yes.
Lieutenant Long.
Yes.
Head. Yes. Trustee Bowser. Yes. President Reed. Yes. Motion carries. And let the record show we will be in the closed session at 7:39. Are you or?
I'm re-recording.
Okay. We can want the record show, we're rolling back into open session at 8:07. Okay, so that brings us to public comment. Do we have any substantive that we would be hearing from the public discussed?
We do not.
Sorry, let's show them the public comment is closed and we'll move on to our action items for this meeting. And first up, we have the filter first bid award, and I would entertain a motion.
So moved as presented for Northwest Kent Mechanical for $83,656.
Any discussion? Having none, Vice President Schopner,
Yes.
Secretary Slager,
Yes.
Trustee Lund,
Yes.
Trustee Patton,
Yes.
Trustee Bowser,
Yes.
President Reed, yes, motion carries. That brings us to our action item, Neola Board of Education Policy Revision of PO 0142.3 term limits. I would entertain a motion.
Or
What is the motion? For clarification, as presented.
As presented.
As presented, Jason has a motion on the table. Support. Second. Thank you. Have any further discussion?
Is there this question, Scott, you still getting more information on this or not really?
I don't think there's anything that would prevent us from the public. Or, sorry, Marshall doesn't think that they're doing this.
Okay, so motion, the discussion, all right, so I'll call the vote. Vice President Schopner,
no.
Secretary Slager,
Yes.
Trustee Lund,
Yes.
Trustee Patton, no. Trustee Bowser, no. President Reed, no. Motion fails. Okay, that brings us to the communication portion of the meeting, and I don't have any outstanding, any communication from the public, or anything to share. Then we are going to the meeting, we know why, so any other communication? Yeah.
None for me,
Okay. So it's for planning.
I have 2 planning items.
Oh, okay.
Well, 3 planning items,
Okay.
actually. In board book, one of the attachments is that list of district events, so there's a lot of cool things happening around the holidays. If you have an open Tuesday or Thursday night, you wanna come check out a concert, in addition to all the athletic events that are going on, there'll be some neat opportunities for you to see our students, really proud on stage. I did send an invitation out today, for a special meeting on Monday, November 17th. That meeting will take place over at the administration building. So we'll do it in the academic services room, where we had our last, special meeting. It's a discipline, hearing. That will start at 6 p.m. We just have one student, who will be bringing forward in the disciplinary hearing. So that'll be on the 17th of November, and our regularly scheduled meeting is on December 8th, 2025. That'll be our last meeting of the year.
Oh, no.
Calendar. Correct, unless we have to do another special meeting.
Good to have that. Good to have.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. Having no more business before the board this evening, I'm going to stand here at 8:11. Thank you.